Welcome to MEMA Aftermarket Top Suppliers Insights, presented by Aftermarket News.
Welcome to MEMA's Aftermarket Suppliers Top Suppliers Insight in partnership with Aftermarket News. I'm Doug Kaufman. I'm with Babcock's Media and AMN, and I'm excited today to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart as well as those of my guests. Joining me today are Selwyn Joffe, CEO of Motorcar Parts of America, and John Chalifoux, Chief Sustainability Officer for MEMA and COO of the MEMA Aftermarket Suppliers Group. Selwyn, John, thanks for joining us today.
Doug, great to be here.
Great to be here. Thank you.
John, the term sustainability is relatively new to our industry, but as certain of us who have been around for a while can attest, the concept of what it really means is nothing new. Explain to our listeners about the relationship between the REs, including remanufacturing, and vehicles on the road today.
Thanks, Doug. Great to be here. And Selwyn, awesome to see you as always. Happy to share this with you. So, Doug, you're right. Sustainability has been around for actually a long time. And if you look up the word in Merriam-Webster, they'll tell you that it's been a word that's been around for 100 years. And it might seem new to our industry. However, the basic concept of sustainability is not. Because at the end of the day, sustainability is all about being responsible to people, the planet, and your business. And we have a long history in our industry of being exactly that. Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll dive a little deeper into that. But you also had asked, about how remanufacturing fits in with the overall aftermarket. So the aftermarket is a $557 billion industry, and it offers tremendous opportunity for remanufactured parts and all replacement parts in general. And we have a saying that we like to say that if it can be manufactured, it can be remanufactured. And we're talking about anything from mechanical and electrical components to electromechanical and electronic components. As we move into the world of EVs, we're there too, whether it's EV batteries or, quite frankly, anything that is a high value component. And it's great to share this time with Selwyn. His company is a remanufacturer of rotating electrical components and also brake components. And really looking forward to hearing his story and his perspective too.
Well, let's do that. Selwyn, welcome. Talk about how you got started in the industry and MPA's involvement in the industry and your passion for this segment of the industry.
Oh, well, I mean, it's, Doug, maybe a little boring, maybe a little long, in terms of how I got involved, but I ended up coming out of the food and beverage industry into the automotive aftermarket space, and in particular remanufacturing. I mean, we've been in the remanufacturing business for about 50 years now, so pretty well established. And when I first started remanufacturing, and those tree huggers and yada yada yada, but today it's a whole different story. I mean, in terms of sustainability, which we just talked about, and actually, just from an environmental standpoint, significant, but also now from sustaining quality. I mean, the meaning of remanufacturing in terms of a professional installer it should be big to them, because what it does is actually enable the original equipment quality to be restored to the units that are being remanufactured. So I know John likes to talk about renewed, and I love that. Because it's a renewed product, and it's pretty exciting. I've been in the industry, since 1994. I'm embarrassed to admit, trying to stay young, but I've got to remanufacture myself. I mean, that would be the next step. But it's been a great ride for us, and I think that We operate facilities that are, state-of-the-art facilities and really committed to the remanufacturing process. And quite frankly, if you look at at the vehicles on the road, certainly in rotating electrical and brake calipers, the vast majority of any part replacement is a remanufactured item. So it plays a key role in keeping vehicles on the road.
So coming out of the food and beverage industry into the remanufactured automotive parts industry, there must have been a bit of a learning curve. And I think for even today, for many in our industry, there's still a learning curve on really what a reman part is. I think some people tend to have a perception of what remanufacturing means. But what does it really mean? You mentioned renewed. Talk about the steps that go into remanufacturing a part.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy. I mean, I think the first thing I'll tell you is I had to get used to going from olive oil to regular oil, but so that was a transition, from food and beverage into automotive. But
Looking puck.
yeah. So what does it mean? The key thing is, and again, I'm going to use remanufactured and renew interchangeably here, the ability to be able to recreate the original equipment part. Okay, there's one thing is coming out with new. There's ways to shortcut. There's ways to change the complexity of the product. There's ways to change the components and cut and it may look alike, but it's not the same thing. So when you're actually remanufacturing, what you're doing is you're taking the original equipment core components and you're renewing them. So you get the exact same quality level product. And then what you're able to do when you remanufacture, you get the ability of hindsight. So the product's been on the vehicle for a number of years, and you see these cores that are coming in, okay, that'll get returned, and they all can be tested. And the point is there's a failure mode analysis. And when you see certain problems that are reoccurring within the same item, you can actually re-engineer that remanufacturing process and re-engineer those problems out of the unit. And so you maintain the integrity of the original unit, and I'll go back to alternators. I mean, the density of the metal, the way the copper windings are made. The original is being thought out very, very carefully by a lot of very sophisticated engineers. The knockoff is not, and so it's about price. Okay, so what remanufacturing does, it self-insures that it's price competitive. It self-insures that it's original equipment quality at a minimum. And it's also, I mean, quite frankly, in today's day and age, it's a product of the USA. I mean, so that's the other side of it. If you're dealing with the USA remanufacturing, of course.
Doug, can I add something to Selwyn's comments?
Please do.
One thing that I think we need to communicate better is that remanufacturing has manufacturing in its name. And it truly is taking a product and manufacturing it again. And if you walked into one of Selwyn's facilities, and if you started your plant tour at the end of the line, you would think you're in a new manufacturing facility, because that's exactly what his people are doing. And when you look at, just repair in general, repair means by definition to make something ready again. Remanufacturing makes it ready again by sending the product through the manufacturing process a second time. And you build in that quality and everything that Selwyn says. Those parts are out in the real world. That's real world testing. And by the time Selwyn and his people get those starters, alternators, and calipers, they're not coming out of a lab somewhere. They know exactly what needs to be improved upon so that part can see its second life.
There's nothing theoretical there. It's actual.
It's real. Yes, you got it.
Yeah. Sometimes what you see is that part has been on a particular vehicle. You'll see a design issue within the vehicle that's affecting the part. And so the remanufactured part can accommodate and modification. So maybe an oil drip that you can put a guard on. There are a number of things that can be looked at in hindsight that you're able to modify without affecting the quality.
John, I do want to talk about your history and how you became interested in sustainability and remanufacturing, that kind of thing as well.
Well, I'm a car guy from day one, and I remember working on old cars and buying parts, and I would buy the remanufactured part. And a lot of times on a classic car, it was because of availability. But I learned over the years that it's quality, it's availability, it's affordability, and sustainability that goes into it. And my roots with MEMA are deep. It will be 19 years. I started on the automotive OE side of the business and had an opportunity 15 years ago to meet Michael Cardone Jr., Selwyn Joffe, and other leaders in the remanufacturing space when we launched our legacy division, MERA. And it's in my blood, and I just really enjoy advocating for our members to help elevate and mainstream what they do.
In a lot of cases, older car guys think, well, some of those parts, all you can find are used parts. You can't find the quality remanufactured parts. That's not true. Also, a lot of the new car guys think, well, it has to be only, you can't find quality remanufactured parts. Neither one of those points is correct.
No.
I think, and someone brings up a really interesting point that we've been working on trying to, I'll say, use language the rest of the world will understand. And he mentions renew. When someone walks into their auto parts store, they ask for a new part. They don't ask for a manufactured part. So why do we say the alternative is a remanufactured part? The alternative is really a part that's been renewed. It's gone through the manufacturing process again. And there's a there for us, and we're going to work more on that. We need to use language that the consumers understand. And Doug, you had mentioned, I believe, core just before. Is that correct? How many people know what core is?
Exactly.
Cash on return? What core is, it's really core material. Just like raw material feeds into a manufacturing process, this value-added material, previously formed, high value-added material should be on the bill of materials. So we like to look at core as renewable material. And again, if you walk into a remanufacturing facility, you'll see exactly that. So we continue to work on language that will resonate more with those who are purchasing the parts, using the parts, rather than just the manufacturing process that it comes from.
Just to add on to what John's saying is that, generally a repair, even by the way, in the warranty phase of vehicles, and I'm just talking in my experience, there's many remanufactured parts that are used for warranty replacement. But the reality is the automobile manufacturer contracts for a certain number of new units to be made, original equipment quality units to be made for that vehicle. And the vehicle doesn't fail the next day. The vehicle may fail 4 years later, 5 years later, whatever it may be. Those parts are not being made new by an original equipment manufacturer anymore. And so the only way you can get back to those original components, that original design, the original metal density, the original ventilation systems, the original solenoids and diodes and all of that, is to take the old one back and to renew it. And so there is no way to be able to have an OE equivalent quality made new later, because those parts are not available. They're not made anymore for that vehicle. And so when you talk about quality and the fundamental sustainability, it's really a real fundamental that is what was designed for the vehicle, not what that new unit was. Is. Yeah.
They'll get the fit, form, and function. If I take one of Selwyn's remanufactured brake calipers, I know for sure that the bolt holes are going to line up, because that casting started basically as an OE part. So all that's built in.
Selwyn, walk us through, if you would, from just kind of a high level overview for people who haven't necessarily been in your facilities to see the process of remanufacturing.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, the first thing that happens is that, when a unit is sold to the consumer, the unit is sold with a refundable deposit for if you return the original one back. Okay, that original one comes back to us in the box, so it has to be the exact same part, which is critical because that ensures you're getting the original one back. That comes into our facility. We have electronic sortation systems. Each one of these units is sorted by SKU, part number, and amperage. I mean, there's a lot of intricate, subtle differences that you can't see by just looking at the unit. So every one of them is sorted out, and then once they stage, when we remanufacture a product, we'll pull those units and we'll tear them down. Okay, so that it's broken into all of the components. Every one of those components is cleaned and checked for operability. All of the wear components that cannot be reused, obviously there's been a failure, will be replaced with equivalents. And then what will happen is once each of the components is checked, the sub-assemblies are assembled, they're checked again, and then the finished good is assembled, and that's checked again. So every one of the units is triple checked, and then when you look at it, it looks exactly the same as a brand new unit, superficially, but it's also got all the core elements of what a brand new unit should consist of.
You just described the standardized industrial process. Sounds like manufacturing to me.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And this isn't in some back alley garage where guys are just pounding parts apart and throwing them back together. These are quality, clean factories.
Just to give you an idea, we own the diagnostics company that are used in manufacturing the majority of OE equipment. The same diagnostics are used on the remanufacturing facilities, and we don't use assembly lines. We are lean manufacturers, so every unit is made by hand, one at a time. Okay, so there's no batch manufacturing in our processes. So and that's not the new. I mean, it's a relatively new compared to assembly line manufacturing, but certainly Toyota introduced lean manufacturing many years ago. But it's all based on that, and every unit that's manufactured is made in a lean cell that's focused around that family group. So the people that are in that cell have cross-functional knowledge of every single part of the operability. And then all the tooling and equipment is equivalent to what an original equipment manufacturer may have. And in some cases, maybe more.
So why is that, Doug? And I'll just add that as the core material is received, as Selwyn mentioned, all those component parts that are going to be reused are cleaned, inspected, and validated. Then they enter the manufacturing assembly process. So by the time you reach there, the components are all clean. You won't be able to tell the difference between new manufacturing and what we'll say is remanufacturing. Some of the component parts had a previous life. Big deal, right? Cleaned, inspected, and validated.
The same specifications are tested into it as well. I just wanted to add that to what John's saying. What he's saying is so on point.
And that's something that may be surprising to hear from people. But what also could be surprising is that there are warranties involved in these products. You're putting your money behind the products that you're putting back out there.
Yeah, we offer a lifetime warranty on all of our remanufactured product. So that says it all.
One of the things, if I may, Doug, I'm a big believer that marketing is the final frontier for the remanufacturing industry. And we're touching on some of that right now. And one of the reasons I think that there is that perception, the perception that the quality may not be as good or better than new, is when in the past we would look at the core material on one hand, and then we would look at the remanufactured part on the other. And what we really need to do, and we do this within MEMA, we play, is it new or is it reman? And for those that remember the is it live or is it Memrex, it's the same thing. So I could take a brand new caliper, and then I'll take one that's been remanufactured by MPA, and you put them next to each other, it's a flip of the coin to tell which one is brand new, all new components, and which one has some of the core material in it.
Wow. Wow. And do customers recognize that? Are they beginning to recognize it as something that that we still need to do a better job pointing out to the aftermarket?
It actually sells for a lesser price than a new unit most of the time. And so people equate that saying, oh, it must be an inferior quality. That it's because we're reusing the metal. And so, and some of the materials. So the reality is that the specifications of that unit are OE specifications and are generally better than any other new unit that's out in the marketplace. So, and part of the problem with this, trying to identify quality of a new versus a reman, the quality of the whole vehicle affects the quality of the sustainability of the replaced part. Because if you've got oil leaks or you've got rust or you've got battery problems, there's all sorts of things that can lead to a part not functioning. But the part itself, the remanufactured part, in our case certainly, and I think in all credible remanufacturers, is an OE specified part that has durability testing equivalent to original equipment, and we're all TS certified. So we're part of the OE quality system that these parts are produced by.
Add on to the TS or ISO 9001, IATF 16949 are the two quality standards that you'll find throughout the industry, and you'll see those standards being used at new manufacturers. Well, remanufacturers, because their manufacturers meet the same quality standards. So we have a program within MEMA called Manufactured Again, where we show that remanufacturing meets the same international quality standards as new manufacturing. And it's a marketing program that we have, and Selwyn's MPA is a part of that.
Selwyn, you mentioned a word too that means a lot to people, and that's basically finance and costs and the things that these days, dollars and supply are topics that are on a lot of people's minds. Reman can help answer a lot of those concerns.
Yeah. Why would you pay to recreate metal components that basically are good forever and don't affect the operating elements of the part? So it's a far more cost effective way. It's a far more energy efficient way of producing. And so there's so many savings. And then I think the consumer sometimes gets fooled that, because it's less expensive, that it's a lesser quality product. Most new units don't have lifetime warranties. Most reman units do have lifetime warranties. So, the cost, and then the other side of it is, again, if you're trying to promote, and certainly, the U.S. economy, I mean, you're basically recycling within the U.S. economy. So the source of those components is coming off the roads and from the United States, for our market.
I was just going to add, we were talking just before, Doug, about do the consumers understand that? And I'm going to say on the commercial vehicle side, the customers certainly do. Mm-hmm. And I know we opened up with talking about the industry, not sure if I mentioned VIO, but vehicles in operation on the light duty side, 291 million vehicles and just shy of 11 million, 10.9 as far as medium duty and heavy duty trucks. Fleets understand the value proposition of remanufactured parts. They're professional buyers. When we get to the automotive sector, the light duty area, we're dealing a lot of times with, how many point by point, consumers or technicians and the rest. So there's there's a larger challenge there for us to get that messaging across. But we're looking for lessons learned that we have on the commercial vehicle side to take some of that as we're talking about today, just to talk about the reality of the industry and the products that it offers.
What are some of the ways that MEMA and the remanufacturing segment can reach those light duty customers, whether they're professional shops, shop owners and technicians, and DIYers as well, because a lot of those people are doing some of the work that remanufactured parts fit perfectly in?
So one of the ways to do that is to look at the person that, as we say, throws the box away. And we have programs where we're looking to, with our member companies to educate the technicians particularly, but then, because most of it is do it for me. But then also on the do-it-yourself side, just to try to get that message out. Again, the quality, the affordability, the sustainability that we've been talking about. So, but again, it's a bigger challenge for us. But we do think that the customers, whether they're the WDs or the retailers, we're working with them also to help them to quite frankly, better communicate the value proposition and show that there is a good business interest for them to do it too. So,
let's talk about that business interest. You driving or getting more involvement from the manufacturing companies. What do you need to do to get more members? How can you reach the remanufacturing side to be more involved in and to be more vocal about what they offer?
Well, one of the things we're doing is we're working internally, I'll say, with our members. We have a Council of Remanufacturing Excellence, and we have a rethink tank that is doing exactly that. And that is members working together to help get the message out. So it's certainly a project, I'll say, that is we're tapping the experience, the skill set, all the expertise of our members too. And it's pretty amazing some of the things that they've been working on and developing together. We have our Reman Roadshow coming up in early June. We'll be in Indianapolis, and that team of members will be doing basically a report out on the efforts that they have.
Are there stories of aftermarket use of reman parts that really can tell that, amplify that message and tell it better to the industry than just an ad campaign or something like that? Is it a personal type of message that needs to be sent?
I think the one simple thing is again that I think 80 to 90% of all replacement, again, alternators and starters or brake calipers are remanufactured. So the road is filled with cars that have got remanufactured product that are working just beautifully. So it's the majority of replacement right now in certain categories. Now there are certain parts that are not remanufacturable. And so, that's a little different.
I'm not sure if this fits exactly the question, but a success story, the Federal Vehicle Repair Cost Savings Act is now law, and it was legislation that we, MEMA, were behind, I'll say, greatly with our members. And it's a requirement for the federal government to encourage the use of remanufactured parts when servicing the federal civilian vehicle fleet. And that represents $1 billion purchase every year. So it's one of the ways that we've been working with policymakers to communicate the value proposition of remanufactured parts. So we're looking to take that. There are a couple states that have that type of language or a law in place, let's say, and we're trying to bring that to other areas around the country.
What would you say to professional automotive, the professional segment of the automotive industry, that this isn't just your responsibility to share that message with policymakers? What can they do to get involved and to help that message out as well?
I think going back to the installer, the products are generally bought by an installer, whether it be a DIFM or DIYer. If the installer, you know, there's so many parts being replaced, as John talked about, a $500 billion plus aftermarket. I mean, I know just in rotating electrical, we got 130 billion dollars of 1.3 billion dollars of replacement. Generally, you only hear when someone has a problem. 99.9% of the replacements are satisfactory or a success. And to the extent that companies, the government, individuals, professional installers, they should be communicating to their consumer that you've played a part in saving the environment and in authenticity. If you look at now, when you buy airline tickets, you can pay a premium to have a sustainable flight. I forget exactly how it all works, but there's you can actually elect that. And so I think that you know success stories should be more vocalized, because they're by far the majority of all the car part replacement stories. And I think that would be useful. I mean, especially if people put a consumer, sustainable hat on their head, and plus an economic sustainability. Certainly, if you can buy it cheaper and it's warranted for life, I mean, what better can you get than that? So, why pay more and have less warranty? It doesn't make any sense.
To really celebrate the idea that sustainability, circularity, they're all beneficial, and you should be proud of that fact.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it depends upon how high on a scale sustainability or circularity means for the buyer. But the beautiful thing about remanufactured parts is they check all those boxes: high quality, affordability, sustainability. There's nothing like a remanufactured part. When you look at a life cycle assessment, LCA, for a second new part versus a part that's been remanufactured, it really tells the story, right? Why would we ever want to we'll stick with the brake caliper for a moment. So I take a brake caliper off my car, and if it's not remanufactured, what's going to happen? Does it get melted down, energy, CO2, just so it could be formed again? More energy, more CO2. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So again, it depends upon which one of those drivers is most important to you. But when you line them up, they all get a real big, green check mark. Again, the quality, the affordability, and the sustainability.
Fantastic, gentlemen. Is there anything else that we need to cover in this today that I've overlooked on my questions? Things that we need to tell the industry about this critical segment of the industry?
I'm going to focus on Selwyn for a moment. And I mentioned when MEMA was first formed 15 years ago. Selwyn has been with us well before that, actually. But when we put a real great focus on remanufacturing, he was right there at the table. Last year, we recognized Selwyn with the Michael Cardone Leadership Award, and that recognizes individuals and companies with exceptional leadership in the remanufacturing community. And Selwyn, I just want to say on behalf of myself and all in the industry and at MEMA, we really appreciate you and what you've done for our industry. So thank you.
Well, I'm flattered. Thank you so much, John. I mean, it's been a great ride, and I can only say that I feel great about what we've done for people, both in our organization, outside of our organization, and trying to contribute to the society that we live in, in our communities. So not only by making great parts, but by the way we run our facilities and our commitment to sustainability within our people and how we treat them, and the safety records, the food and environment and exercise and all the things that we provide to our community, I think is spectacular. And we continue to try and launch with, Motorcar Parts of America's sort of TV series on YouTube and educational series and learning management, and try and promote the message through our people, through our media, talking to people like yourselves at Babcock. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys taking an interest in it and allowing John and myself, certainly I speak for myself, and I'm sure John feels this way, to be able to be part of this and to talk about something that we're very passionate about. And I was just thinking, you people don't wear fur anymore. Things change to try and make the world a better place. Okay, and in our own little way, which is not so little, we're trying to make the world a better place by offering great parts with a great sustainable story from a great country, and that's really what else can you do? So, Doug, the one thing I want to make sure that everybody understands in our industry, and I really want to call out John Chalifoux. I got a chance to meet John when I joined MERA, and as one of the founding members, and John really is the founding director of MERA. He really gave the aftermarket remanufacturing world a voice. Okay, and now it's become pretty significant as part of MEMA, and I couldn't thank John more for what he's done for our industry and how he's been the voice of our industry and the voice of reason and logic, and just one of the most efficient administrators and voices for our industry. So I'm sure many people in our industry would echo that, and this is an opportunity I wanted to take to thank John for that, and certainly tell him how much I appreciate our relationship and with him, and how much I'm sure the rest of the industry appreciates him.
Well, thank you, Selwyn, and you and so many others in the industry made it easy, I'll say, being a part of it, putting your time into it, and your people. And I go back to the core accounting paper that we worked on. It took us a handful of years with RSM, but your commitment to that project, and you had your CFO and your chief accounting officer both participating, really helped that become reality. So it's an awesome community, the remanufacturing community. As someone mentioned, we're now part of the larger MEMA aftermarket suppliers, and we're really thriving. So thank you for the kind words, but more importantly, thank you for all your time and support over the years.
Well, on behalf of all of us at AMN, I would like to thank John Chalifoux from MEMA and Selwyn Joffe from Motorcar Parts of America for joining us today on the Aftermarket Suppliers Top Suppliers Insights. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.